believe our next guest is here. Now, while we were just talking to Morgan from Roblox there, one of the topics that came up was about digital ownership and about NFTs and their role in the metaverse. And what we've got here is Kaveh Vahdat from RiseAngle. Now, Kaveh, can you hear me? I think you're just coming into the chat now. We've got a talk now from him about what is an NFT Games Metaverse. So if you've got questions around that, this is the perfect time to drop them in. And Kaveh's going to talk about that. Hi, how you doing?
Thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Thank you. I'm good. Okay. Where are you zooming to us from today?
California.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you. It's early with you. It's the late afternoon here, so we appreciate you doing that. Well, look, yeah, I'm gonna vanish. I'm gonna hand over to you to talk about NFTs, games, and the metaverse, folks. If you have questions for Kaveh as we go on the subject here, just drop them in the Q&A box, and I'm going to pop up in about 20 minutes and help you go through those.
Hi everyone. My name is Kaveh. I'm founder and CEO of RiseAngle. We are creating a groundbreaking metaverse of NFT games and an exclusive NFT membership. And as you know, the topic of this talk is what is an NFT Games Metaverse. So before going deeper to what NFT games are or what metaverse is from our perspective, I'm going to just give you a little background on us, which is going to help understand where we are in this space. So we have been around from late 2016. We are a startup. We believe we are the first company that has a focus on virtuous gaming. It's more on you can find more information on our website about what we think of that, but in general, the common values we share as humans, games that basically have that kind of philosophy. And we have released 5 games to the market on 6 different platforms: on Oculus Go, Oculus Rift, Google Play, Apple Store, Viveport, mostly VR games. They have reached 300,000 plus installs. The 2 main products that we have right now, which I'm going to give you a brief overview, which they are upcoming products. Both are NFT related. One is an NFT membership, and the other one is what we believe is going to be one of the great use cases of an NFT Games Metaverse, something I will talk more about. So one of our products is RAM. RiseAngle NFT membership is itself an NFT that someone buys, and when they own it, every month they get a new NFT from a different collection for 12 consecutive months. Those could be from, it could be 2D artwork, could be 3D models, could be comic books. They could have utility within the game. So just for learning more about that, check our Discord, because that's not too much relevant to this talk. The other one is that what we believe is going to be a main contributor to the future of NFT games, and that's a word of Mazes NFT Games Metaverse, which is a metaverse of games, secrets, and stories. Is going to come. We have scheduled that for release in 2022. It's a story-driven NFT metaverse, and you have NFTs with utility to use there. The example that I gave to understand this is just imagine basically a Marvel metaverse of fantasy stories and characters, and basically that it extends through different universes and actually across the time and etc. Imagine that meeting a completely different fantasy world of mazes, and like has all sort of NFT integrations in it, which are essential to the core of the game. But I'm going to explain more about that also later. All right, so let's go back to basics. Okay, so let's talk about NFTs a little bit and what they are and what makes them special. So I do like this definition from OpenSea, that basically part of what how they describe NFTs. NFTs are unique digital items with blockchain managed ownership, right? Now, of course, a good example of that is that let's say in the physical world, if you had a Picasso artwork, you knew which one was original, and if it was like 1,000 copies of that, didn't matter, those copies weren't worth much, right? Now in the digital world, we have the same capability for the first time in history, that basically because of the blockchain, everything is verifiable. You can see the history of things, and that allows for one piece of digital artwork or just a digital file to be much more worse, because that's the original and everything else is the copy. Now, there are all sort of excitements around NFTs. So different people are in the NFT world, and they're excited for different reasons. So some people are excited about the exclusivity factor, right? So the collectible aspect. So you own something that is limited or rare. Some people are very excited about being the first in the space, meaning that, okay, so the first time in the digital world, we have that option. So they think that, okay, so any NFT you own right now, you are going to be one of the first people to own a piece of the history, kind of like that kind of mentality. Some people are really like excited about the art aspects and art innovation parts of that. Some people are excited about the community aspects, joining communities through NFTs, and actually Discord is exploding in popularity, as in the NFT space at least, as like a platform for communities. And you just if you have been following Discord, you see like day by day growth, right? So in that aspect, so some people are actually excited about the recognition aspect of that. The same way some people may feel about driving a Ferrari and then being very visible by doing that, they may feel about the same thing by having a Bored Ape NFT, a very popular one right now, as their own profile, Twitter profile, actually picture in the digital world, and they feel as much recognized. And of course, a lot of people are actually also excited about the money-making aspects of the NFTs. And there are actually a lot of different groups have come together in the NFT space. So they are collectors. So I mean, like, so if you basically, for example, have been a collector collecting stamps or something else in the physical world, so you do get how much value like a digital collectible that is really a collectible can have. There are like artists, media companies in the space excited about the innovations that happening there. There are people that have been deep in the crypto space. So, I mean, they started with Bitcoin or Ethereum or both a few years back, and then later they adopted like top 100 coins, and then they bought some of that and sold some of that. And then basically they went to the top 10,000 coins. And last year they were excited about decentralized finance. And this year they see NFTs as kind of the evolution of the same thing, and something that is basically the next step in the crypto space. There are also game companies coming, like a lot of game companies entering this space. That's actually really like one of the new frontiers in that space, and it's going to be very, very exciting. And then, of course, like celebrities, physical goods trying to find a digital signature, etc. So there are like lots of different aspects to NFTs, and lots of different groups excited for lots of different reasons. And that's actually part of the reason that it has made this space having an explosive growth from last year. Now, also for the metaverse, I know that people talk about the metaverse or a metaverse, and we assume there is a unified description of that. I don't believe we have come up with a unified understanding of metaverse yet. So there are different perceptions when it comes to metaverse. Some believe if something is VR, virtual reality, or has immersive experiences, it's a metaverse. Some people think if it allows user-generated content, so it makes it a metaverse. If a platform allows for that. Some people believe if it has certain features like buying a land, it's a metaverse. So you can own a land at this specific space. Some think that, okay, so if it extends across different worlds or universes or timelines is a metaverse, or if it lays foundation for many other creatives such as games, media, toys, etc., is a metaverse. And also the metaverse, so it was like a report on Bloomberg that was saying the metaverse is a virtual world that blends aspects of digital technologies, including video conferencing, games like Minecraft or Roblox, cryptocurrencies, email, virtual reality, social media, and live streaming. So the way I'm going to explain more how we see it, but I mean, like, so it could be all of those things. It could be also the metaverse, and it could be like a blend or basically collection of interconnected metaverses. But still, I mean, like, so this, I think, whole thing gives you an overview of when people talk about metaverse, what they are talking about. So now let's go deeper to like NFT games. Okay, so why are actually NFTs and this new exciting innovation actually important for games, or what are NFT games? So NFT games, Binance has a piece that basically they define it like this. This part, I think, is a good definition, is that basically they say NFT games are games that basically use NFTs in their rules, mechanisms, and player interactions. So basically, NFTs are kind of in the core of the game. Now, of course, this true ownership of in-game assets that happens because of NFTs is really like the first time in history, and that brings a lot of interesting aspects. So one is that basically you can actually transfer your asset from inside the game to anywhere you want. You can, so it's a more of an open environment, cross-platform, instead of these walled garden platforms that currently trying to dominate every space. And kind of like, I think calling the metaverse is kind of because of that purpose, also like some platforms trying to dominate what's to come. But then again, so it's when you actually own in-game assets, you can also show it off. You can bring it to every other different showcases that allow showing of your collectibles. Your in-game assets become more liquid. They become tradable easily. You can use them as a foundation for new games, because now you actually own them, and then you can do things with them. There are lots of play to earn models to come, and there are like lots of other innovations happening. I don't go deep into them, but I mean, as far as DAOs, I mean, decentralized finance plus NFTs, etc. So I would say the closest to what I see as NFT Games Metaverse, or some of them are actually NFT Games Metaverse, you can find if you go to OpenSea, which is the Amazon of NFTs, and you basically filter with virtual words, and all time what you are going to see is like a good list of NFT game metaverses that exist right now. So I mean, Decentraland and the Sandbox being some of the most important ones. So that's a kind of a good starting point for what exists as far as NFT game metaverses. But basically the whole thing, what does it mean for the game industry? So what is it to come for the game industry with all this? So this is like finally the real ownership of in-game items. And that's going to mean a lot of different platforms, new platforms coming. I mean, like, so basically, so we have some level of this, for example, in the Steam community market, but they are going to be emerging marketplaces competing with that basically they are going to have this basically cross-platform, right? So they are going to be like some standard popular avatar that you are going to see used in various metaverses. You are going to see some standard popular 2D or 3D asset packs that used across different games. I mean, it's already happening. It happened a few years ago with CryptoKitties being one of the first NFT games. And when actually people adopted these kitties for new games, and then it could happen with any of these popular assets that they are like NFT assets. And basically games created on top of those assets, like for example, if there is a set of collectible cards that everyone loves and is an NFT and they truly own them, they may create various games based on those. And then, so with all that, a lot of new and exciting companies are going to emerge as winners and come to this space. It's a fast-paced space. It's hard to understand or follow for larger players, at least right now, because moving very, very rapidly. It changes every day. And one very exciting aspect that I see is that we are going to see a lot more experiments for play to earn models, right? So I mean, like, I would say I consider Second Life from Linden Labs being one of the innovators in this space many years ago, right? So now from last year we have seen, or recently, so a lot of games experimenting with new play to earn models. And the challenge with play to earn models in general, one of the biggest challenges is the sustainability of the models and the economy behind them. But maybe finally one of these companies can figure it out and become basically, so it has been every gamer's dream to play games and earn a living, and maybe that's finally possible. So with all that and learning more about just NFTs, NFT games, the metaverse, NFT Games Metaverse, we find World of Mazes NFT Game Metaverse that is upcoming in 22, our own, to be one of the groundbreaking ones. So it's basically the NFT. So it's a universe of different mazes that basically each of these mazes is a maze world, and each one has its inhabitants, its treasures, resources, puzzles, games, different things. They are interconnected through some rules and also through a main storyline, and it extends through future and past and extends through actually parallel universes. And is the base of a lot of new things. So we are going to have at some point, hopefully in the future, opening it up even more to the community to create their own maze world, but this is further along the way. It has specific types of NFTs that we haven't seen yet in the market with the definition we have in mind. So like there are specific story NFTs, secret NFTs that you are going to get. You at some point in the game, you get access to a lost, basically a gate of lost mazes that basically from there you start exploration to another vast universe, and there you can gain NFTs by going through the exploration. Those NFTs are being used for unlocking other exclusive actually areas and maze worlds. Or they can actually, you can bring them out of the game and give it to someone else, or trade it, sell it to someone else, which gives them a head start in the game. So it has some play to earn aspects also in it. And we basically we have scheduled this for release in 2022. It has been in development for a couple of years now, actually. And it's going to come to smartphones first, at least how is it scheduled right now, iOS and Android, Google Play, and then also like some specific VR devices and PC. And with that, I actually end my presentation. And then basically, okay, so how can you get involved, learn more? I think our resources is a good start. Of course, there are lots of good other resources out there, but you can start by checking our website or going to our Discord channel, which gets actually more and more active by day, or follow us on Twitter. And I'm open for questions.
Thank you very much, Kaveh. Amazing stuff. The really, really good overview there. Thank you of the role of NFTs in the metaverse and about in-game economies. I thought that was fascinating. I've got a few questions based on that here, and you know, if the audience have any questions, please do drop them into the Q&A box there. I know that NFT is such a hot topic at the moment, and there's no better opportunity here than to get to ask an expert on it. So, Kaveh, if I may, can you just I thought it was a really, really good summary of the situation there. Obviously people have been hearing about NFTs, and what I thought was interesting was a lot of the ways that NFTs have been in the news recently is about kind of the sort of hyped overvalue of items being auctioned at Christie's and things like that. But actually, really about the ability to own in-game items is, that at its core, that's an absolutely fascinating and I think increasingly fundamental thing. I've heard people at Pocket Gamer Connects sort of say that in the future, perhaps we won't even believe that there was ever a time when we weren't able to actually own the things we bought and made in games.
Yeah, exactly.
The issue of ownership is kind of incredible, and so I think that's a really fundamental thing. There's questions for the audience starting to come in, but what I'd like to do before I grab them is just ask you, could you explain just a little bit more about that play to earn model there, because I'm hearing that a lot here as another kind of monetization factor that people making games should think about, or rather a user retention, I should say, maybe for the thing that people should say, right? What does play to earn mean? You kind of touched on it there. Just while I just gather the other questions, can you give us a little bit more insight into that? How does that work?
Sure, absolutely. So basically, simplified is play to earn is basically when you actually play the game for a while, and then at some point of time, by playing, you can actually make some income. Now, that, right, for example, in the NFT world, could be through gaining access to specific NFTs in the game that are valuable for other users, and you can take them out and sell them. Or it could be, for example, through specific resources that are generated, and this actually comes together for the blend of NFTs and decentralized finance. That basically, right, these could be used as actual financial assets in some sort of way. So for example, let's say you gain some specific resources by playing the game. Every hour you gain this much, let's say, mana, right? And let's say this mana is actually used in the game again, and is very valuable to people. Now, someone could go and play 20 hours to gain some mana, or you can bring your mana outside of the game and take it to one of the marketplaces and sell it to someone else that needs it, and they want basically to buy it, right?
Right, got it.
So that's one way, right? So there are like lots of different aspects. I would say the challenge to this play to earn models is that, and that's something that we have been thinking deeply about for World of Mazes also, is that hard part is that usually they kind of have these property that for the old people, basically people that have been in the space for longer time, to make money, a lot of new people lose money, and then right, that's the hard, that's the hard part of it. So that, how do you do like a sustainable economy that is actually an economy that produces, so basically in the virtual world, and I would say that's, I haven't seen anyone have been able to solve that challenge yet, and we are too early for that. For you see like that there are some NFT games that they are very, very successful in making money right now, but it has been partially due to the explosive growth of the NFT space, and because new people coming to this game all the time. So what happens if this stream of new people to the game is not as much as the outgoing people, right? And then that the whole economy could collapse. I would say that is one of the hardest challenges in front of figuring out a model. But going back just to your question, so play to earn is all sort of mechanisms that you can actually make some real money by playing the games. So, and then a lot of people are thinking about that and trying to figure economies for that, basically.
That's fascinating. Thank you. That's a real insight there into a really complicated topic. Talking of the challenges, we've got a few questions here as we've been talking, and I'd like to just grab the first one there. Someone asks a question about what the biggest challenge is to the adoption of NFTs. What innovation needs to change, for instance, friendlier wallets. And I myself have had some experience of trying to get installed in blockchain gaming and finding that I've got to install MetaMask, I've got to understand what gas prices are, all these kind of things. I mean, are we getting to a point where it's easier for just casual users to get involved with?
A very good question. Actually, they are still to somewhat hardcore, actually, and they are complicated. And then, yeah, I mean, so that's true. So basically, if I go a little deeper to the gas prices, that's a big challenge. For example, Ethereum has been like the foundation of a lot of this innovation. And because of that has grown significantly. And because of that, now gas prices are very high. And that is actually one of the bottlenecks for growth of Ethereum, which is actually the foundation for a lot of these growth. Now, there are a lot of other competitors for Ethereum, and they are layer 2 for Ethereum, which is Polygon. And then there are like competitors like Solana, etc. Right. And anybody that becomes a little actually known in this space, if the competition with Ethereum actually jumps a lot. So as far as the valuation, everything, because there's such a hot space that has grown so fast and has faced these growth problems, and a lot of people are trying to fix that, but I mean it takes time, right? So from last year, is a space NFT that from last year to now has grown like 500 times, 1,000 times. So it's just explosive growth space. Wow. And it takes time for innovative people to figure that out. Now, that being said, also user friendliness is not there for a lot of perspectives. So the same that 6 years ago, buying Bitcoin itself was like very hard. Or like it was like something more hardcore then. And today, like there is Coinbase and you can just click with button click and buy and sell Bitcoin. Of course, right. You pay commissions, but then that's kind of, yeah, when it comes to MetaMask or other solutions, they are not very user friendly yet. So I would say it's kind of a step-by-step funnel that you see there. People start somewhere, they go to the next step, learn something, become a little more hardcore, and then go to something. So and then a lot of companies are working on basically innovative solutions to make it better, right? So that takes time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all fascinating, and I think that we've done quite a lot of content about NFTs and things here, but yeah, for those people in the audience who got your kind of top level introduction, some of these things will be puzzling them as well. Let's ask a question here as well. So Chris James, who's the boss, so I'll take his question next. Chris says, there's a lot of different items, worlds, currencies, and companies. There's also been a big growth in recent months. Where do you think are the smartest places to invest in the blockchain and NFT space right now?
Smartest places to invest. That's and of course, what I say here is not financial advice.
Oh yeah, well, no, of course. No, okay, well, given the fact that nothing here is to be taken as financial or legal advice, and that you're entirely in your, I mean, plug your own services by all means.
Yeah, so it's a lot of different things actually. So for actually one reason that a lot of companies are into this space, that it does have new sales models coming with it. So basically right now, selling a new NFT through minting process, it's its own thing. And there are a lot of people that's trying to figure out the economies of that. For example, there are a lot of people that they're trying to predict which one of these NFTs that are coming to the market, they are gonna increase in value in the secondary markets, and they are trying to basically just buy them in the minting time and sell them there, for example, later. So that's, for example, one of the models. There are other people that they think, okay, so which one of these projects have long-term value, and they are going to be there like the Google of the NFT space or NFT gaming space in the next 3 years, and let's buy those NFTs and keep them for the long term, and then see which one have the more added value. So they are like so many venues for generating revenues in NFTs these days, and each one has a lot of people that trying to analyze the opportunities there. Of course, for us as the company, as RiseAngle, what we see is that this is an explosive growth space. And we do have these two products that we have. One of them is basically we are capitalizing on all sort of innovations in the NFT space. RAM is being a membership that basically gives you 12 different NFTs from 12 different collections, and each collection being unique. So we are trying to touching base on various exciting areas that people find exciting in 3D models, 2D art, in NFTs that they have utility from different perspectives that people look at that. Comic books, all in one basically. Yeah. And then for our metaverse, we see that to be able to have explosive growth, if you look at the main NFT games, or larger, I would say NFT games like Decentraland, like Axie Infinity. I wouldn't really consider Axie Infinity Metaverse. Maybe it is. It's not in my mind. But these, like, basically they have been like they have had growth of 100x in the from last year to now. And basically we want, with all of the innovations in the world of mazes, NFT Games Metaverse, for that to be basically uh, the game that defines, or at least part of the space. So, and then we are trying to build our community around that. And then it has also like some virtuous gaming aspects embedded in the whole gameplay, which we find to be important, like common values we share as humans, and that has been considered in the design of the game in every aspect. So we are also like creating our own community around some specific values, although like they are like commonly shared human values. But I mean, like, so we think that's important for this space. We think that's important for the metaverse space, as well as it has been ignored, and it has been important for the VR space. And then I think for just all these new emerging technologies.
Got it. Well, look, that's great. I'm going to have to stop you there because we're into time for the next panel.
Yes.
But Kaveh, I thought that was great, and I thought that as a kind of an introduction to some of the core things about using NFTs and player-owned economies, that was a really interesting heads up. And I can see on the screen there, you just hopefully people made a note of your contact details there. But also, if there are folk watching this who want to find a little bit more about RiseAngle, or just kind of pick your brains, they can look for you, I'm going to guess, on the Meet to Match, or at your own website and your own Discord. So please do that. I'm going to give you a round of applause.
Discord is the best. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thanks for
Discord is the best. Yeah, thank you. If you want to drop the Discord link in the window, hopefully people copied it down, but feel free to do it there.
I will do that. Thank you.
And we'll move on to our next thing. But that was fantastic. And as